lifting is big, man. I mean, especially if you want to be like big in your weight class and strong in your weight class, you got to lift. But it's all, you know, you don't want to put on too much useless muscle. You know what I mean? Like you want to put on good strength, and of course you're going to put on muscle if you're building strength. But for sure, I mean, Jared, I'm guessing you work out as well. You lift.
So I do a lot of stretching. I don't lift nearly as much as I really should, just because it's so boring to me. But I definitely acknowledge how important it is. Like I have a lot of people that probably don't even train, but they're just in my TikTok comment sections, and they say like, you don't want to lift weights if you're trying to be a fighter, and it's like every single.
They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Every athlete lifts, bro.
Yeah,
most athletes.
And they'll say like it gets you like too big and bulky and stuff, and it's like if you train for that, yeah, but if you train to be explosive fast,
you're not gonna get big and bulky unless you try to get big and bulky. Let's just say that, you know, like
no one's accidentally looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, bro, I've been trying to get big and bulky for like 8 years, man, and I'm still like things are slowing down, bro. I'm trying to put on size. Like people don't understand. Unless you're a beginner lifter, like the gains slow down, then it actually becomes hard to gain that much muscle. Like how a guy like Paulo Costa can be so big, or Jelton Almeida, while being a cardio athlete, while being an MMA fighter, that's insane to me. You know, I mean, and of course some guys may be on sauce. I don't think, I mean, that's not even a conversation that's that interesting to me. But yeah, if I was a MMA fighter, I'd definitely be on like a lifting routine, but I would only hit the weights maybe like 3 times a week max, and the volume would be low. Like I wouldn't be doing a lot of sets,
upper lower, or something.
And the reps would be low too. Like it would all be strength and explosive work. There wouldn't be any fucking like side lateral raises. You know what I mean? You know.
Or like when I do lift, and keep in mind, I'm not a professional athlete, so maybe I'm an idiot. But when I do, I really do a lot of like, I love doing cleans. I love doing deadlifts because I like anything that gets like hips activated. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a super important movement for anytime you're like turning over a punch, turning over a kick. Just having strong hips, and I'm always crushing. I don't really like I feel like I get a lot of my upper body stuff just by grabbing and squeezing stuff while I'm wrestling.
Yeah, for sure. I could understand that. Bro, I honestly think that squats are actually a really good exercise in order to improve your kicking game. Like I understand that if you're squatting and you're not stretching, then for sure that can get in the way of your mobility. You definitely want to have a lot of hip mobility and flexibility if you're going to have a good kicking game. But I really believe that one of the reasons why, like, I think my kicks were so fucking good back in the day is because for 4 years leading up to me even beginning Muay Thai, I was just squatting like heavy. That like the squat is my favorite all-time exercise. I think that there's something about the squat, man. It just builds a different kind of fucking strength. It builds a different kind of leg. And man, Jared, give the squat a try. Give some front squats a try, man. It'll build your core. It's a great exercise. It's a more athletic movement than the back squat. The front squat, man, I really recommend it. And just stretch a lot of stretching for sure.
I'll have to keep that in mind. One thing I really like is I do a lot of leg dexterity drills. So like I'll leave my leg out as if I just threw a kick, like at the peak of like range of motion, and then I'll just hold that. Like either while I've developed a good enough balance that I could oftentimes just stand there. But while I'm working towards that, I'll actually like lean against a wall, and that's just killer. Like if you just throw a roundhouse kick out, pretend that it's like just at the point where it's touching the target, and just hold it there. That's killing like your
stretch,
like hip flexor area, and I feel like it's develops my ability to actually put like some serious power behind my kicks when they're like high up.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, yeah, no, I did boxing for a little bit. I did boxing for like about a year. It was fun, but I don't know. It was kind of more of just like a phase. I didn't want to like I also like didn't want to really get into it and like do fights and stuff, like take like contact to the head. I think that was like a big reason for not wanting to do it. You know, that kind of like scared me a bit. So that's kind of why I stopped. But I think all martial arts are super fun and like they're easy to really get into. It's just like, at least for me, I just think the head contact, the brain damage is not really worth it, for at least for me. For different people, like if it's worth it, but at least for my goal.
That's the good thing about grappling though, I think, because you're able to actually go out there and train hard, and get, consistently better without taking a ton of damage. Now, if you're training stupid in anything, you'll still risk injury. But like a jiu-jitsu injury is like taking you out for like a month because you like rolled something. Whereas like you still have that risk if you're boxing, plus you might have just gotten like knocked out, So like that's why I think grappling is such a
I want to try some jiu-jitsu. I live in Florida. I'm from Florida. There's a bunch of great jiu-jitsu places by me. Like Gilbert Burns trains at a place down my street. So that's pretty cool. I definitely want to try some jiu-jitsu. I played sports like football, hockey. So I never could really get into the wrestling because it's the same season, but now that I'm done with all the sports, got some more free time, definitely gonna try some jiu-jitsu. So I think
Judo is super underrated because there's not a lot. It's not super big in the United States, but it's just as big as like wrestling if you go overseas. But Judo is absolutely killer. Like people think of it and it's just like, oh, it's just throws. They have it's called newaza. Like they actually have like a solid, sophisticated like ground game and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, I used to do judo back in the day, man. Like I remember training like on the ground like a lot. I remember training on the ground quite a lot. Judo is a fucking fantastic sport, man. I just think that that's such an underrated aspect of martial arts that not a lot of you don't see that many American MMA fighters that are high level in judo. If there are a couple like Casey Kenny, for example, and Ronda Rousey had a judo background, but that's one of the reasons why you have guys like Habib and Islam that are so successful. I mean, you see Piotr Jan implementing judo a lot as well. But yeah. Their grappling is not only testament to the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu, but also the judo and even on the ground. So can you explain like more about this, about how judo is effective on the ground, not just with throws and trips?
I mean, I think it goes into that a little bit though, because they compete in upright stance. And I feel like that's some of the reason why these guys are so effective. Cause like with like freestyle wrestling or something, they'll have like a hunched over stance and like half the moves aren't going to work when somebody's standing straight up. Judo, they're already standing straight up. But like on the ground, I mean, when a full score is called an ippon and then a half score is called a wazari, if you hold somebody down for like 20 seconds, I think it is, you get ippon. So that's why that's part of the reason. Some of it's also the fact that the wrestlers, guys like Khabib, they're holding people down because if they've been doing judo their whole life, they're used to like this person. I'm not pinning them for like 1 second, like in wrestling. I need this person pinned for a whole like 20 seconds. And in my mind, pin someone for 20 seconds, you can pin them as long as you want,
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't know. I love judo. I wish there was more no-gi judo out there. In some MMA gyms they'll do it, but like you won't see anybody that like advertises as like no-gi judo, unlike jiu-jitsu where they'll have like full like no-gi jiu-jitsu academies.
What's the reason? What's like the reason for not wanting to do it? Like, is it like,
I guess it's just the tradition. Like, I guess back in the day, bro, they were trying to learn how to fight, and people always said, "Is that it? Is that because people wear clothes?" Like,
yeah, I mean that's like that's the clothes they'd actually be like wearing in Japan. Like it would look similar in the time where these martial arts, because it predates judo. Judo was actually like relatively recent, like 1800s, but it comes from like traditional jiu-jitsu from before judo was even a thought, like thousands of years ago. That's like what they'd be wearing, but it's just like traditions, they just keep it alive. But I think since like there's so much like it's the same roots as Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but like it's less traditional with BJJ, just because like it changed hands, you know what I mean? Like it went under like the control of like the Gracie family and all that stuff. So I really like how jiu-jitsu is so like open-minded to doing things not just because it's like the right way to do it, but doing things because it's like practical. I think that's a decent thing that jiu-jitsu has been doing. But judo, I feel like if it took some of that mindset, I feel like you'd see a ton like as an art, I feel like it has a ton of potential to really work for like MMA.
Let me ask